On this episode of the Backstraight Boys, we're going to be talking about the Nick Symmonds situation. If you don't know that, Nick Symmonds has been left out of the USA team for a reason we'll be discussing, and then we'll also talk about the retrospective banning of some athletes, and then we'll do a little bit of a brief preview of the World Championships. Everyone's getting on a plane this week, I think. Yeah.
Just arrived, I think. They've all got jet lag.
Really? Everyone? At the same time?
Well, Dina has.
Really?
Yeah, she can't sleep.
Right, sweet. Right, so we'll talk about that in a bit, but first we're going to the Nick Symmonds situation. So, right, Nick Symmonds is in the US team. He's been selected for the US team, was selected for the US team. He then, there's a situation with a contract agreement. So he's sponsored by Brooks and the USA team is sponsored by Nike. Nick Symmonds has subsequently been pulled out to the USA team for not signing a contract, which you have a bit of information about right here.
I mean,
so can I just quickly say that? This is the spin that's been put on it. Nick Symmonds has not been pulled out of the team. Nick Symmonds has decided not to go for refusing to call the contract. They haven't pulled him out. He won't sign the contract in order to go. It's his decision, not anyone else's.
So Nike is picking the USA team then?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so basically you have to wear the team kit at all team functions.
Right.
So Nick Symmonds is like, what does a team function mean? And basically what they've said is that you have to wear it throughout the trip, including athletes' hotel, during training, press conferences, competitions, and award ceremonies.
Awards?
Yeah, it says, accordingly, please only pack Team USA kit, Nike or non-branded apparel.
The issue is, he's saying it's a poorly worded contract.
Yeah.
This contract isn't worded properly for him to sign it, which I think is a valid point because that is not worded properly.
No, I mean we're model agents in the real world, and there's not a hope in hell you'd let anyone sign that contract because it doesn't mean anything.
It is poorly worded. There's no doubt about it. But why does he have to be such a dick about it? It's
fair. It's fair point.
Do you know what? I know Nick Symmonds more from complaining on Twitter than anything he's ever done on an athletics track.
Yeah,
seriously.
Which why I think he's a good example of someone who's really good at self-promoting.
Self-promotion, but it always seems to be about self-promotion. No one's doubting he's got a point. Okay, it's a terribly worded contract, and someone should have thought of this before.
But sorry, why should you sign a terribly worded contract?
That's not my point.
So you're saying he shouldn't sign it?
No, it's up to him whether he signs it or not. My point is, he always has to make as much drama, as much conflict, as much publicity for himself as he possibly can. There are plenty of other people in Brooks, from Brooks on the team. There's plenty of other people with other sponsors who are going. I've heard not a word out of Brooks themselves complaining about it. Right. It always seems to me, and I'm not specific to this, it's happened on more than one occasion, that Nick Symmonds is making as much publicity. But you need somebody.
I think it's really weird that you'd say something like that because throughout the whole of school, and we always say this, who were the two who piped up and made a big complaint about something, and everyone else, I wish those two would shut up. We were right. Technically, we were right.
But we were being dicks.
Yeah, but so what? Sometimes you need people to be dicks. Because if he hadn't said it, everyone would have just signed it because everyone's too scared to say anything else. Also, he's 100% right. No, he says all he's asked them to clarify is what is a team function. And they won't clarify that.
I think what's happening is he's making himself out to be a martyr for it.
He's not a martyr.
I think he's got a contract with Brooks. He's run 144 mid this year. He might make the world final. He's not going to medal in the Worlds.
I disagree. I'm not saying it's 800 meters. I'm not saying exactly. I'm not saying he would be one of my picks, but he's tactically very clever, and he's got a good finish. And there's always a bronzer up for grabs in the 800.
He's getting his Brooks bonus this year from this.
Of course.
Irrespective of getting the medal.
So what?
He knows far well he's going to make more money from doing this than he is from going and making.
Well, number one, good.
It feels really
it is contrived and it is showboating, all the rest of it. But he's right.
Yeah.
And USATF, you shouldn't. It's really irresponsible, and they should be on the side of protecting athletes, not protecting their sponsors. Now,
Nike sponsors don't seem to be complaining. It seems to be
their sponsor, Nike. Now, Nike do a brilliant job in America because they give millions and millions of pounds to track, which is what's needed because there's not a lot of investment in. But that doesn't mean you can buy everything. You can't buy the team, and then they've got Alberto Salazar. They've paid for all of that. But on the other hand, they're sponsoring Justin Gatlin.
They're letting not be named.
Yeah, they're letting Mark Block hang out at their VIP areas at the US Championships. So Nike isn't all goodness and light. Do you know what I mean?
I've got a good word to say about Nike, but if Nick Symmonds, as he's sort of contending, people should ignore the contract and refuse to sign it and all the rest of it. And he's saying, people are saying if 50 athletes come in, then Nike would have to change it. If 50 athletes decide to do it, Nike could very well say, well, I'm taking our £20 million and someone else fill that gap.
Yeah, they might.
There's no one else who's going to fill that gap,
Brooks will step in and pay £20 million.
They're not going to, that's the point.
They'll pay that for Nick Symmonds. They will do. Nick Symmonds defines himself on his Twitter, he's an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur means you've got to create a business from nothing. One of his main things he's got now is his new gum thing he's got. See the US trials, when he won the trials, had tattoos of his own brand.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, his own gum
I thought they were bad tattoos.
Yeah, no, it was his own logo for his own products. So he's self-promoting, he's in every single national and worldwide newspaper, he's on everything. His
and you know what?
Everywhere.
More people should do stuff.
Yeah,
not specifically this, but you've got to have a bit of self-promotion. I mean, some of the athletes who are very self-promoting are not my favourite athletes, to be honest.
For that your least favourite athlete.
Yeah, for that very reason. But because sometimes people are dicks about it, and there's a way of doing stuff. But we could do with a lot more athletes who take some initiative, who get out there, who create some publicity. Because it's not just incumbent on national federations and the IAAF to do
The next point we're going to talk about the doping issue this week. IAAF have retrospectively banned 27 athletes?
28 athletes,
yeah. Okay, so they banned 28 athletes.
But it's from the 2005 and 2007 World Championships. Samples have been retested from those championships and come back positive. So
the thing I think about it in this situation is these athletes, they've got the medals, they've got the money from winning the medals off the back of it, they've met all the people in the industry that they want to meet, they are well connected now after the back of that. This won't make a difference to them. No. It only affects the people who didn't win the medals.
Well, and there's an absolute argument there that it's kind of too little too late. But if you are Kelly Southerton, who's always got a lot to say on this matter.
And very well might be getting a medal.
Yeah, or two. So you want your medal back, and you should be given your medal back. It can be proved that the person was cheated.
My point is, it doesn't even matter at this point.
It matters to Kelly Southerton.
To match that one person.
And also,
but it's not one person. There's multiple people, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's bringing athletics back into the media for negative reasons again.
It is. Well, that's one spin, and that is the spin that the press will take.
And it's
but for me, it should be a positive story.
Yeah.
It's a positive story about a sport trying to do something. Do they do enough? No. Do they do all the right things always? No. But at least they're trying to do something. There's so many sports who don't even do testing. Or they pretend to do that. So athletics and swimming and cycling are the only sports who really do try really hard, and they get a bad press. They're full of drug cheats. Well, no, actually, they're less drug cheats because they're actually trying to catch them. We just know about them.
And also, I'm not going to there's a whole other thing at the moment, of course, about the retested blood things. Now, I'm not even getting into that. Way too complicated. About 5 issues in one. We're just not going there for the time being. But at least the IAAF have these samples to go back and retest. You try doing that in football or tennis or rugby or basketball
or any American sport.
They won't even exist. You know, so it feels to me like they can't win either way. You know, whatever they do is wrong. If they retest, people are like, oh, up in arms about drug cheats. If they don't, people are saying they're not doing enough drug testing.
But you said before about the situation where, like, on Twitter and Facebook, people are releasing their own blood data.
I think that's a very slippery slope.
Really slippery slope.
Why is that?
It feels almost like blackmail. It feels like the newspapers or press involved have gone to them and said, you should release your blood data. If you don't, people will think you're a cheat. Which then puts people in a really difficult position, because if you don't want to, and you shouldn't have to.
Because there's all kinds of reasons you might have a higher blood level. You could have been ill. It's nobody's business if you've had an illness. I mean, all kinds of different, very personal reasons that you might have it. And so if you're one of the people who doesn't release them...
The assumption is...
Or maybe there is a spike at one point, and maybe it's absolutely explainable. Is that a word?
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to explain that because...
They should be private.
Yeah, it's not admissible anyway. They brought in blood doping passports in 2009, which is when they had the science to be sure that the results were correct. Before then, they probably were, but they weren't 100% certain. So tests back in 2002 aren't 100% reliable anyway. They wouldn't be admissible in court. You wouldn't be able to ban someone from from a test back then anyway. And also, the whole point of the blood passport is it's over a 2-year period. So you can look and see where the spikes are, and then you know whether that's... and
you've got to get a base rate to begin with in order to know when the spike is.
So saying that someone had a sample back in 2002 which looked dodgy... Maybe it was dodgy, but maybe there's a reason. This should not be in the public domain.
And this is why it's really irresponsible of the newspapers to just come out with this high blood levels, and it's like, could be cheap. But people don't read could be cheap. They just read everyone's on drugs. And it wasn't fully explained, and it couldn't be fully explained because the data's not there.
Do you see this? The British team have just set off to Beijing for the World Championships. We have Tom Bosworth, who's been training over in Japan, talking a little bit about his experience leading up to the World Champs.
And really excited to race now. Race is only just over 2 weeks away. Can't wait. It's really good as well that the Russian Federation is taking responsibility for kind of their athletes over the last 2 decades, really, and longer, and by not sending any of them because they don't want any more embarrassment, really. So that's really good to know that the playing field will be far more level when it comes to the race day itself. And I'm confident now that I can go out there and the racewalks can really focus on athletic ability rather than another Russian failing a test. I've just seen the biggest spider outside my window.
In terms of your picks for the British team, who do you think is going to be the one to watch out for? Like, for you personally?
Me personally, well, the one to watch out for me personally is always Christine. Because she's the most exciting person we've got on the team to watch. You just don't know what's going to happen. And she usually comes good. That's the thing. If you didn't know what's going to happen and it usually turned out badly.
What do you think, British team?
I think I want to watch Jess.
You watch Jess?
Yeah. Because
she do well, or because you
watch
watch her?
I think both. But I think that in Gotsis, and we were at in Gotsis obviously with her, she was over the moon with the way she performed, but there was so much room for improvement. And we've seen that already. I mean, just in the hurdles, we've seen the improvement, and the long jumpers.
I think Carl Langford, I'm excited to see him as a young British 800 metre runner. Love the 100 metres, obviously.
Really?
I really like distance events. I don't know why, I just got a thing for him. But I think he won the European Juniors, won 145 recently. I don't know what he's going to do. So I'm excited to see if he gets to the final or semi-final. That'd be amazing.
Well, I mean, that's what his coach was saying, that they want to see him in the semi-final, but you never know, he could get in the final.
Can I just say one more person that I think we'll all be cheering on is Greg.
What
he needs for the full set. And there's very few athletes have done that. Sally, Daly, Linford, I think that might be the only 3.
No, there's 2 more, but I can't think what they are.
Jonathan would have done it. But that's a big thing to have all 4, isn't it?
Huge. And he doesn't get enough respect.
Nowhere near enough.
Anything like enough respect.
Athlete,
and he's in really, really good form. And you trust him at championships more than anybody else, don't you?
Go on, Greg!
Go on, Greg!
Right, thanks for that, guys. We'll be back next time for another episode of the Backstray Boys.